Today, I'm sharing an interview I had on my friend Melissa Armstrong's podcast, Holistic Health with Melissa. I broke up the conversation, so to hear the whole thing, head over to her podcast. But in this conversation, I share my testimony of my nursing career, how I actually experienced burnout and I wasn't even aware of it, and how I wish I knew now what I practice and could go back and help myself back then. But it can now help you. Are you a nurse, a health professional, a care professional, or a caregiver or a caretaker? By the way, all moms are. Then this is for you. Caring for ourselves holistically is so important to get out and to stay out of burnout and to care for our people well. This is for all the helpers out there. I pray this blesses you. Hey mama, are you overwhelmed by your full, blessed life? Do you feel stuck in the messy, mundane middle? Then I'm so glad you're here to take a breath. Hey, I'm Shan Wright, RN, holistic wellness coach, and a mom to four that went from perfectionism, control, and lots of anxiety to intentionally living through simple solutions and so much peace. If you are done with the stressed out life, hot mess express type of motherhood, then heat up that coffee again and let's live holistically well in the middle. Let's go.
Yeah, let's just dive in. I love your bio. You have so much wisdom and so much experience. Like me, you're an RN. So I'd love to hear kind of what your path was and how you became a nurse and then pivoted into wellness advocacy and coaching.
So I went to nursing school, right? And I go to nursing school kind of just off the advice of others, like, oh, you would be a great nurse, because I just wanted to be a mom. So they're like, oh, you would be a great nurse. You love science. You're a great student. Just go into nursing. And I'm like, okay, sure. So it was something in healthcare. And I chose nursing because it seemed the most flexible. But I went to this nursing program and it was actually a private Christian university. And they taught us holistic wellness. Spiritual wellness was definitely a core of the teaching, of the curriculum, of how we did nursing in that nursing school. We, worked in a small, I think there was 30 in my nursing class. And that was, all 4 years. So it was like we got really close. We learned not only about us holistically, but about each other holistically. And then we're able to pass that on. Then I entered the nursing world after college and realized that's not how you do nursing. And bless that university for teaching us that. But it was hard for me because I'm like, well, what am I doing? I'm actually just taking this order and pushing a pill and then bye to the patient. I actually was in cancer. So hematology oncology for the majority of my 10 years. So I did get to have some longer time with patients, that we would have patients on our floor for, months at a time. And that actually was what I liked. I was like, I like to see them through this whole journey, but their journey was, they were only there for months because it was life or death. And so I knew I needed to care for their spiritual wellness. And it wasn't settling for me to continue to give them these umpteen amount of medications and say that I'm helping them because it just didn't feel soul aligned. But I didn't know that. I knew something didn't feel right, but I was just still doing it because this is what it is. And I really think I went through seasons of burnout throughout my 10 years. After talking to a nurse, now that I'm in this podcast world, talking to another nurse who talks about nurse burnout and that she experienced her in her first 6 months. And I was like, oh yeah, that was definitely me, but I never called it that. I just thought this is what nursing is. Did that and then did travel nursing and actually ended in a really great role, a really great job in a bone marrow transplant unit. And I loved that. I felt like I could care more for myself and the patient in that scenario. But then we moved with 2 kids. Actually, I was very pregnant with my second. And so I decided, I don't know if I wanted to go back into nursing in this new state and this new area, how they do nursing here. It was very different I was out in San Francisco and it was just very different here. And I looked into some nursing, but a friend asked me, "Do you really want this right now?" And I was like, "No, actually, I've always wanted just to be a mom. And so maybe I'll just be a mom right now." And in that year of deciding, you know what, I'm not going to look for a nursing job and I am just going to be a stay-at-home mom, that was a year of God working on my identity because I didn't know what I was without being a nurse. I didn't know who I was. When people would say, tell me about yourself, I want to say I'm a nurse, but I'm not anymore. Who am I? It was a year of like a struggle, but I learned so much. God walked me through the whole thing. Actually, so then I had my kids all about 2 years apart. So then I had my third kid and I had my biggest bout up to that point of postpartum anxiety. And God actually showed me I had struggled with anxiety my whole life, but I never called it that. Just as I didn't call nursing burnout. I just was like, this is what it is. This is life. You just deal with stress. You have a lot of stress. And sometimes, yes, you have a lot of stress and it turns into anxiety. I just never called it that. And I never knew how to deal with it. I never knew how to manage it. And so I was in this moment of desperation, postpartum with my third newborn and then two toddlers. And I was like, God, how do I do all this? How do I do all of this perfectly? I am drowning. I can't do this anymore. I had a business at the time. I still do, but I had a different business and I wanted the perfect home and the perfect marriage and kids. And I couldn't do it all perfectly, but I was asking God, crying out to God for help. And he said, no, no, I'm not going to help you do it all perfectly because you don't have to do all of this. You don't have to do all of this. And I'm going to give you four very specific intentional actions to work on your holistic wellness. And I want you to do that. And it was a very real, vivid conversation with God. And I can still picture it to this day. Then from that point on, I was on my own holistic journey of my own holistic wellness. And it was a totally new way of looking at wellness and health. And I never really cared for myself as myself. I was always caring for other people. And so I started caring for myself and getting on this journey. That was 7 years ago. And then just 4 years ago, 2020, I encountered a whole new experience of postpartum anxiety. And I had major anxiety my whole pregnancy. And then he was born March 9th, 2020. So then the world's anxious and I'm trying to not be anxious and manage my anxiety in a world that is anxious. I just leaned really hard into those things that God told me to do, but it was really hard to do some of them in this anxious world. And so I took on a deeper pursuit of peace, and that led me into a new health and wellness space of a business and a mentorship and supplements to help manage my stress and anxiety. And that was 4 years ago. And it's just been a journey of now, God pointed me more into the coaching space. I'm just kind of going where, like, to share my journey, to share my holistic journey with others so that they can get out of that stress and the anxiety and deal with it with this way that I have, because I have found that when we take these intentional actions and don't just say, this is what it is, and this is stressful motherhood, and this is what everyone goes through that's a mom, and just say, no, I don't think that's what God calls us into. He wants us to thrive and have joy in motherhood. And I want to help you do that because I've found that. And yeah, so that's the space that I'm in now. And I'm using my love and my knowledge and expertise of holistic wellness that I learned all back in nursing school. I'm using that now in this area of my own business, my own coaching business. I get to do nursing, like how it aligns with my soul in caring for the whole person.
Looking back, did you feel that burnout? Like it sounded like it was pretty immediate. You recognized like as a new grad that you didn't love, it wasn't soul aligned, even though you didn't know what that was. Do you think that
Yes.
it was like really quick?
I didn't know I was in burnout when I was, but there were signs, feelings, actions that were all pointing to it. But I just wasn't listening to those feelings or paying attention to those gauges in the dashboard of my car. I was still going until I had no fuel left. How are you feeling, mama friend? Are you in burnout? Maybe you weren't there yet, but maybe you're headed there. On the stress continuum, burnout is at the bottom, and it's after dealing with chronic stress for too long. But everyone's too long is different. The way you care for your holistic person determines if you will slide down that slope or fight against the resistance or how long it will take. If you are exhausted, you're headed there. If you are tired of being tired and the everyday makes you feel weary, you're headed down the slope. If there's any conflict in your life, if you are avoiding any wellness area or any part of your life or person or activity from superficial to extreme removal, you're headed there. If you are over or underperforming in work, home, marriage, parenting, or if you're projecting, gossiping, blaming, focusing on others' actions and not your own, these are all signs you are either in burnout or you're headed there fast. The bold blueprint is what God gave me to get out. It's what he gave me to climb back up that hill to peace. And now I share it with you in a 6-month group coaching program. If this is the week of April 7th, then it is on a huge special sale. If it's not, then check it out anyway, because I believe it's the blueprint for those of us with huge hearts that care and love for everyone else in our life, but we need to learn how to care for ourselves holistically well, to live this one life well and with peace and presence and purpose. Go right now to www.theshanwright.com/bold and care for yourself. Yeah. So, well, it was all those veteran nurses that you say, okay, is this it? And they're like, just give it a year. It'll get a little bit better. Just give it a year. And you're like, a year? Really? Yeah. Yeah. It takes a good year. And I would ream people out after nursing shifts, that 12-hour shift that turns into 14 hours and you go grab margaritas and chips after, and then you go home and crash and then you get up and do it again. I would like come in contact with family, and just be like, I can't even do relationships right now because I'm in this hard year that apparently, just how it is. And the veteran nurses say this is how it is. And it'll get better maybe, but if it doesn't, I just have to deal with it. Maybe 6 months to a year in, I got another nursing job actually at a med spa. And I would go right from my nursing shift on a oncology unit, right over, change in the parking lot to this med spa where it was a serene, calm. These are people, business, corporate, coming in after their at 5 o'clock, coming in, getting spa treatments to their face and laser treatments. And I would be a nurse that was there. It was, just nurse practitioner owned. And so there's only like 3 employees. And she had me as an employee because I was a patient or client. And so she's like, I would love for you to come in and work for me. And so I'm like, sure, sounds great. But I would come right after shift and she had to have a talk to me. And she's like, this isn't high paced, high energy. I need you to learn how to transition from that job to here because I don't want your energy being passed on to the client because they're coming in for a very calm, serene experience and you're killing the vibe. And so that was, I guess, I actually took that and was like, you're right, but how do I do that? I didn't
Yeah.
know how.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I supposed to do? It's like this, it ends at this time and then I come right here. I change in the car. How am I supposed to? And so I wish I knew some of those solutions I know now. Man, I could have just done a breath prayer for like 5 minutes and I would have been so much in a better space. But yeah, it was obvious and probably very obvious to the people around me. But I, again, just thought that's what nursing was.
I would love to know more about that conversation about with God.
Yeah.
Like, what did that
Yeah.
conversation look like? And
Yeah.
it sounds just fascinating. And what was he telling you? And was this over
Yeah.
the course of like a long period of time, or was like one conversation in 5 minutes, or how did that happen?
Yeah. The initial conversation was, I don't know the length of it, but I remember being in this chair that I'm looking at right now with my newborn strapped to me and crying and, being like, I need to have this time with God and being intentional and saying, like, I'm coming to this prayer with a lot of burdens and I need answers and coming. And I can't really recall, but being in those newborn days, I'm pretty sure I did not have a lot of time with God in those days. I was just surviving, right? I was probably working on 4 hours of sleep at best and just trying to do the thing with him saying, you don't have to do it all and you're not supposed to and I don't want you to. He was really calling out my perfectionism that I had struggled with my whole life. Even there's been times in my life thought that was a good thing, that, oh, doing all of these things perfectly or the best that I can on, aiming for perfection. That's just me. That's like what I do. I'm detailed and I want to do everything right to the T. And that's a good thing. I'm, in high school, getting good grades and being a good athlete and being a good friend and a good daughter and not messing up at home. And aren't those all good things? And when I'm coming to him and saying, I want a good business and I want to make good food for my family and I want to have a good marriage and I want to have toddlers that listen and obey and aren't these all good things? And they are, but we can't be perfect. And he does not call us into perfection. And that strive for perfection is causing the anxiety. It was seeing that and saying, okay, I need to put this down and I need to receive grace. And I read an amazing book that just it was exactly what I needed at that time. And it was Grace for the Good Girl. And it was like, okay, this is what I need. By me trying to do it all, I'm saying that the cross wasn't enough for me and his grace
Mm.
is not enough for me. And
Yeah.
that breaks my heart to even think that my actions are saying that. And so I really sat with God and understand more of the grace that he provides for me and to accept grace. But then, yes, he gave me four very distinct things to do because, again, I was not caring for myself as holistically as I could. I was praying when I could and, reading. I don't know. I probably wasn't reading my Bible. And so he said, I need you to spend time with me. And this is where you're going to find peace is when you spend time with me. So that needs to be definitely a forefront. Bring the baby, bring the toddlers. It doesn't matter. Yes, get some sleep, but if you need to wake up early, do it, make the time because there is time. And then the second thing was to move my body 30 minutes a day. So, yes, postpartum, but moving your body brings in that mind body connection, which is so important. And when you're feeling like you can't make sense of anything that's going on, it's like go move your body and then I will make the connections and then I will speak to you. And sure enough, it's like whenever you move your body, I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like I just hear God. I just hear him. So, moving my body and making that a habit every day. And then the third thing was to have date nights. So, we were so used to having date nights in with one kid. And we even lived away from family. We were like, hey friends, can you come over and watch our kid while we go out on a date? Like it was, and then she would go to bed at 7. So we had date night like every night. We made it, special and we had, intentional time at home together. And once we moved, we lost the consistency of doing that. And so that needed to be a habit that was built back in to our schedule, a healthy habit that cared for my social wellness, my emotional wellness, my mental wellness, my spiritual wellness. Like it cared for a lot of things about me, not just I need like to go out and have dinner. Like that's not what it's doing. It's really doing so much. And then the fourth thing was to spend time with my girlfriends. Yes, we would sometimes go on play dates and have that time with play dates. And I was a part of moms groups and occasionally Bible studies. But that's not what he was referring to. And he gave me detail on this, like literal fun with girlfriends where you can have those deep conversations. You can have that intimate connection. You can really have oxytocin release. And so then your cortisol decreases. You have those bonds that you can't get from anywhere else but a girlfriend. So, yes, those are my four things. That's what God told me. And it's been 7 years. And if I falter on those, I am headed towards stressed out.
I would love to know when you look back and think about when you had that newborn, right? You were sitting on that chair, you're crying, and then you had this conversation with God. And then from there, you made it like intentional. And you're like,
Mhm.
okay, like this is what I have to do. And you intentionally shifted things in your life to make that change. I'd love to hear how you think that you were able to like have the courage to do that, because I've found in my experience personally and professionally that it's easy for women, especially like moms, especially with like brand new babies, right? To just feel like there is no way out. They can't be intentional because their life has to be devoted to this child. How could they possibly be so selfish to spend time on themselves?
Yeah.
How do you think that you had the courage? Because I don't think it's selfish at all, but I think it's the opposite of selfish, but I think that's a lot of women feel that it is selfish. How do you think that you had the courage to like stare that in the face and make that change?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I talk about. This is exactly why I talk about it too, because all that you just said, you need accountability, you need a support group. So when I go to my friends and I say, okay, I'm not doing good, and I'm actually struggling with postpartum anxiety right now, or just anxiety in general, But when I went to them and said, I'm really struggling, and one of the things God told me was to meet with my girlfriends once a week or once every other week. Can you support me in that? Can we plan a dinner? Can we plan a play date where we can actually, Chick-fil-A used to be the best play date because the kids would play in the play area and you and the mom could have a very one-on-one conversation, or, a couple moms without any kids interrupting you. They just were so happy. I loved Chick-fil-A days like that. But find a place where you're not being interrupted every single sentence, because that's not the intentional connection I need. That's just a play date, and we'll need to schedule something else. But I told them. So that's one of the things, is to bring in the people around you with these intentional actions. So it takes courage to do that, because you have to be vulnerable and authentic and say, listen, I'm struggling. And that takes a lot of courage, but it's what it requires. We have to do that. I told my husband these four things, and I said, can you help me? And one is, I need to spend time with God. So can you like understand that when I get up early, don't interrupt. I'm really spending time with God. And if you can handle the kids, or if you can handle breakfast, that'd be awesome. Or if I can't wake up early because I was up all night with the kid, can I go in my room for 30 minutes and be not interrupted? Because I need that time. Or when I say, hey, I need to go for a run right now for an hour, like, kids are on you. Can you understand that's one of my four things that I have to do? And so talking to him and your support is huge. And then just knowing that it's obedience, and it takes courage to obey. Because if it was easy, we would just be doing it naturally, and it wouldn't, like, I would have thought of all these four things on my own and it would be so natural. But it's not. I actually need Holy Spirit's help to do it and to follow through and to take those steps of obedience. And I wanted peace so bad. I wanted help so bad. I wanted to get out of this place of postpartum anxiety and stress so bad that I said, okay, if God said these are the four things, then I have to do them. I have to obey. That's why I come up with, for my clients, simple solutions that I can hold you accountable to. So when they meet with me and they share their stressful, scenario, what they're going through, say, okay, let's take one baby step of courage. What about this? And I offer them solutions. What would you think about doing this one little thing? Because I think this is going to get you to where you want to go. And that goal, or that dream, or that peaceful spot, I know this is going to get you there, but let's just start with this one baby step of courage, and I'm going to hold you accountable to it. You need people that are supporting you, and sometimes it requires a coach. And that's why I come as an accountability coach, to say, I will be your support person to get you there, because sometimes you don't have those friends around. You don't have that spouse that's super supportive and understanding. Or it's hard to speak out in courage. So speak out in courage to a coach who knows how to help you and get you there. And we will take the intentional actions together, and I'll hold you to them and then figure out when you don't do them, why, and how to, tear down those walls of limiting beliefs and lies and inner vows, tear those down so that we can get moving in the face of fear.
That's, I feel like the biggest hurdle in the coaching space, like, is getting people to just be courageous and take
Hmm.
those action steps. Because
Hmm.
so many people, it's easier to just like turn and look the other way and just kind of ignore the pain and the frustration and the anxiety and all that. It's easier to just stay stuck rather than taking that step in courage and really like challenging those limiting beliefs. So important to reach out to people and be vulnerable and ask for help, right? That's the first step, is like asking for help, realizing that like sometimes you can't do it on your own. A lot of times you can't do it on your own. I mean, who has? None of us.
Hmm.
I certainly didn't.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of, not the only reason, but landed back into that postpartum anxiety with baby number four. Because all of this with baby number three. Then with baby number four, I had a whole new season of friends. I had a whole new, like, um, you know, time of life. I had kids in school, with, all that happened in 2020. I had to homeschool kids that I was not planning on homeschooling. I had to take on all these new roles and responsibilities. So it was a new ball game. So I actually needed to take more courage. I had to do new things, different things. I had to take my first supplement. And that took courage to say, you know what? I'm actually going to invest here. I haven't invested this much money before in my wellness, but I actually think, this is it. I got to do this. And I did. And I went on a whole new journey after that because of that one decision to say, I, looked into the science, the research, all the things, validated that it was more about me investing into my own wellness. And sometimes that's what it takes. And so, yes, having people to even invest in coaching and saying, well, I don't need this. I can do this on my own. And it's like, but if you could, you'd already have done it. No one is more invested in your wellness and your intentional actions and your accountability than your coach, because friends, they have their own wellness they're dealing with. And you say to them, I want you to support me and I want to support you on this wellness journey. Let's commit to going to the gym every day. That's the best they can probably do, is say, hey, are you going to the gym today? Other than that, that's for them too. And they're not invested in your holistic wellness like a coach would be. Because for one, you're going to invest financially into that. And so we have to hold up our end of the bargain and we have to say, yes, I'm going to pour into you all that I have, all my knowledge, experience, and tactics and tools and strategies, because you are trusting me. And that means so much to me when someone comes to me and trusts me with their wellness journey. I take that so seriously. Yeah, I'm here with you every step of the way that you allow me to. But you're right. It takes people a lot of courage to even invest into a coach and say, okay, I'm willing. I'm willing to trust someone else and let go of the control, because this control is not getting me anywhere.
Do it. Invest in yourself. You will never regret it. Taking any step is going to just give you the momentum to keep going, but
Yeah.
just do something, take action, take courage, take action.
Yeah, so my verse, actually, it was the verse that God gave me during the pregnancy of baby number three, and I thought it was for him. I had no idea it was for me until a few years in. And it's Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. That verse has really led me, because we didn't even talk about this, but growing up until, I don't know, I'm 40, so just a couple years ago, I had been called shy my whole life. And I kind of accepted it as this, shy, perfect, favorite little good girl, all those things. And I accepted these labels put on me and kind of acted in them. And so when God called me into podcasting, I was like, I can't speak. I felt like Moses. I was like, I can't. I don't have the right words. I don't know how to speak. And God really, it took me 18 months to take that step of courage to get behind a mic. But God built me in those 18 months slowly. He was like, okay, I can see you're doubtful. But I know what's inside of you. So I'm going to help you. And so here, there's this thing called Facebook Live, and there's stories that go away in 24 hours. Just start talking on there and then start talking on Facebook Live and then Instagram. And I want you to do it over and over and over. And as I did that for a whole year, I was like, oh my gosh, I can get behind a mic. Actually, this is kind of fun. And then I was like, someone shy wouldn't be doing that. And so when I realized that, gosh, what was that? It was on Epiphany. I think it was 2022. And God told me, you're not shy, you're strong and courageous. And I was like, was that verse for me? And I was like, oh my gosh, this whole time God's been trying to call me into courage. And I've been acting out shy and quiet and timid. And God has never, there's no place in the Bible he calls us timid and says to stay there, live there. He always calls us to be strong and courageous. And so, it has served me to really, really sit with that verse in all areas of my life, my holistic life, and say, where can I take courage here? And where can I actually act and move? Because courage means moving forward in the face of fear, from Joyce Meyer. That's what she says. And I love that, because it's like, yeah, I'm scared. That doesn't mean you don't be courageous. It just means you are courageous because you're moving forward in that fear. And then this week, when I had this moment of emotional stress, and I told a friend, a close friend, and I told her what I was dealing with, and I spoke the feelings out loud. She prayed to God. So it's really, really important to have friends that pray for you and with you. She prayed and asked God for a verse for me, and he gave her Joshua 1:9. She didn't know that's my verse.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, oh, I needed that. And so it was like, remember, and I mean, I sing that verse over my kids every single night, but to have her pray and receive that as encouragement to pass on to me, it's like God
So
is
incredible.
here in this
Yeah.
whole situation with me. He wants to encourage me to keep going, to keep doing the thing, and to keep up with my 4 action steps, because
Right.
that's where the peace is. And he wants to encourage you. Friend, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, discouraged, lonely, anxious, stressed out, burnt out, exhausted, defeated. The Lord your God is with you wherever you go. It's time to take your promised land. It's time to fill up your holistic person with love, intentional action, care, grace, rest that it needs. The Bold Blueprint is taking courage and holistic self-love to care for yourself holistically with intentional action, accountability, support, like-minded friends that also appreciate and steward their holistic wellness, friends that build you up. That's why I transitioned the Bold Blueprint curriculum from one-on-one coaching to a 6-month group coaching program. You are invited into the Bold Blueprint if you want to be a good steward of your time, body, mind, money, children, family, your purpose. Then the Bold Blueprint is for you. If you are weary in your role as a nurse, healthcare professional, caretaker, caregiver, care professional, or mom, I invite you to replace stress with intentional strategy. Replace exhaustion for peace, shame and guilt for bold, spirit-filled purpose. Go to www.theshanwright.com/bold, and I cannot wait to see you on the inside. And if you still aren't sure, if you're in a place where you need something like this, please email me at hello@theshanwright.com. And if you know a friend, a mom friend, a care professional, anyone who would benefit from this conversation and the Bold Blueprint, please share this episode with them. It would mean the world to me, and I cannot thank you enough. Now may the peace of God be with you. Shalom. Shalom. Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at @theshanwright so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, May the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace.